Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Today, all eyes are on the skies with the region on tornado watch for much of the day. Plus, we're keeping an eye on racist graffiti that has popped up at a local temple. Police say it was hate motivated. A community in Lakeshore is hoping to save a beloved church from a ready-to-go wrecking ball. And a Windsor woman from Iran is using her art to express support for woman, life, freedom. The talking point all day was the weather. High temperatures, lots of rain, and potential tornadoes. The CBC's TJ Deere has been tracking the storm for us, and he joins us now live. TJ, what happened out there?
Well, we got a lot of rain, but no serious damage here in Windsor. Now, the day started with a tornado watch that was issued by Environment Canada just after 10:45 this morning. Now, a watch is different from a warning. A watch meant that a tornado could touch down compared to a warning, which means that a tornado will touch down. No tornadoes reported in Windsor, Essex, or Chatham, Kent, but there was a lot of rain, but not enough to cause any severe flooding. Now, the city of Windsor told CBC News that their Public Works Department and 311, neither of them have received any complaints or calls regarding serious flooding, but there is some water on the roads. A lot of water also gathered at the Grand Maris Drain. We took a shot of it just before the storm at noon compared to late this afternoon at around 4:30 or so, when after the storm dissipated. Now, there's also been fog forming over the Detroit River here. That's been going on and on for the last few hours, and it's because of the high temperatures throughout the day. We actually hit the early 20s. Now, it's been happening off and on, like I said, but the worst of the storm appears to be over, and like I said, no serious damage. Right now, it's calm weather, the sun is trying to make an appearance, and it looks like we might have a nice evening. Kat?
Thanks for that, TJ. That's CBC's TJ Deere live for us tonight. And apologies, it did sound like we're dealing with some technical issues out in the field there. But let's take a look back at how the day played out. This was the scene from our tower cam earlier in the day. You can call it the calm before the storm. And then around 2, you can see things started to intensify, getting darker and darker. Things just getting worse over the river. It was quite a sight to see. And then came an intense downpour, with the worst of it happening between 2 and 3. But then things calmed down after that. At least 5 people are dead after a massive tornado ripped through parts of Missouri early this morning. The twister caused widespread damage in some rural counties in the southeastern area of the state.
A lot of damage, trees falling over on cars.
Crews are searching through the rubble of destroyed and damaged homes and using chainsaws to cut downed trees in hard-hit Bollinger County. That's located south of the St. Louis region. Meteorologists say the tornado stayed on the ground for about 15 minutes and traveled up to 32 kilometers. Twisters were also reported in Illinois and Iowa, and today's severe weather is the third in a series of massive storms over the last few weeks to hit parts of the U.S. And all week long, we've been following the flood warning in Chatham. The Thames River was rising before today's storm, and officials saying that today it has now peaked. Take a look at how fast the water has been moving this week and how high it is now. It's now at about the 5-meter mark. That's close to 3 meters higher than it was this weekend. With all of this water, debris, tree branches, and limbs have made their way through the system. There was enough of this stuff in the waterways to force some road closures. Chatham-Kent shut down the 5th and 3rd Street bridges so that they can clear things up. Officials still have the flood warning in place, saying that levels could remain high into the weekend. To a developing story now here in Windsor. A temple has been tagged with racist graffiti. Police have released this video. They say that it shows 2 suspects spraying anti-Hindu and anti-India vandalism on the wall of the temple. This is on Northway Avenue near Totten Street. The video was captured overnight just after 12 a.m. And police are asking any in the area with video cameras set up to take a look for these 2. They are investigating this as an act of hate-motivated vandalism. And there's concern this week that the city operated that the city-operated curling club could shut down. A group of concerned curlers are pushing a petition to show community support for the club. The curling rink is part of the clubhouse at Roseland. That building is nearly 50 years old. A plan for the building was approved by the board of directors 3 years ago. It suggests the city demolish the current building to build new golfing facilities. It's not clear if a curling rink would be part of that plan. The chair of the board at the club is Councillor Gary Kashik. Here's what he told us today about the future of the club. Quote, I 100% want to see curling remain in Windsor at a location which could possibly still be at Roseland or at a surplus city ice pad, which would be converted to a dedicated curling rink. Curlers say they want to be included in whatever decision is made about the future of the rink. And new details today about that massive investment by the Magna Corporation in Canada. It says it will invest $6 million in its Windsor Modules plant to produce a new electronic component for the auto industry.
The latest product offers a new solution to our customers and added to our portfolio that delivers what we promised, and that's innovation and creativity.
The investment will create 110 new jobs. The company says they have promised their client they would not say what the product is, but it is related to electric vehicles. They expect to start production in November. The investment is being made with some money from the province, which is also not being disclosed. This is all part of a $471 million investment Magna is making in plants across Canada. The days are numbered for a former church in Stony Point. The current owner wants to demolish it and now has the okay from Lakeshore Council. But residents say it's a focal point of the community and hope to save it from a wrecking ball. Dale Molnar reports.
It's old and austere. Built in 1905, an Annunciation Church was dropped by the Diocese of London in 2006. It has since been sold and fallen into disrepair. Council gave permission to the owner to tear it down because an engineering report deemed it unsafe, despite a heritage designation.
You can see the eaves trough fell down, so now we've got stuff coming off.
But some residents say it could still be saved, including convincing the new owner to sell it to someone who will repurpose it. Marcy Gleek lives next door in the former rectory.
This is historic, and it's on the heritage list. It's designated heritage, right? And that it just feels like nobody wants to help.
She also believes a priest is buried under the church. This is actually the second church on this site. A priest was interred under the original church. The family of former Tilbury North Township Mayor David Tremblay has been here for generations. He wants to see an archaeological survey done.
We think there's more than one burial site here. No, of course, my great-great-grandfather gave land or sold land for the cemetery back in 1867. But we were here before, so where were they buried? Most likely on the church grounds here.
Tremblay says people found what they believed was a crypt under this church in the 1960s and put a plaque up in honor of the priest. But the Diocese of London says the old church was built next to the current building and the two coexisted for a time. A spokesperson says the priest's remains would have been given to the Jesuits, who would have buried them somewhere else. He also says there are no records of a cemetery on the site.
Do you think there's a feasible way to save the church?
Sure. I look at it. Again, the structure's there, the bones are good. The longer we wait, though, the more costlier it gets.
Part of the criticism is that the town didn't force the current owner to do some upkeep on the building to prevent its worsening condition. Lakeshore Mayor Tracy Bailey will not comment on the issue.
The church still has a fair amount of time before it meets a date with the wrecking ball. The owner says he won't be demolishing the church for at least a year, maybe two. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Stony Point.
Protest art. That's the idea behind a new Windsor exhibit called Woman, Life, Freedom. It's an expression of solidarity with the widespread protests in Iran. The woman behind it fled the country herself, and now she's speaking out through her art.
So this is the one that I created for this exhibition, and so the marbles, you can see marbles in all of my paintings, and it's about shooting the young girls into their eyes.
Walking through the exhibit at the Show Art Studios, Mariam Safarzadeh is full of gratitude. She fled Tehran 3 years ago to build a better life for her family. She's been watching the unrest unfold from afar. It was sparked by the death of Mahsa Amini, who died in September after she was detained by the morality police for not covering her hair adequately. Safarzadeh knew she had to do something.
You know, I'm an artist, and the best way for me to calm down is painting.
Her work has always been about the plights of women. When she still lived in Iran, she couldn't share her work openly for fear of arrest.
Here, I feel safe, and I said, I'm gonna do it. Because this is, as an artist, I have a duty. I should voice the women who are struggling. I couldn't be silent.
She pitched the idea to show art and invited other artists to join. 28 of them have displayed their work here, including 4 from Iran.
Mariam asked me if I was interested in participating in it, and it was definitely something that I had been thinking about for a long time as an Iranian, and hadn't really had a chance to create anything. There was, obviously lots of feelings and thoughts, and I found that it was a really good opportunity to put all of that into a creation or something.
What I've done with this, I've used artificial intelligence to symbolize what does it mean for those words, art, women, life, freedom. And then what it brought back was a representation of that. Now, what this work really means is it's the uprising of women around the world. We all know that there's a lot of injustice when it comes to gender right now.
I love this exhibit. It's the best one I've ever been in. In the past 10 years, I've been doing exhibits, and this one meant so much to me.
I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. You have a mixture of women who are not professionally trained artists, and then you have a mixture of very, very well-known artists in our community, and I think the work stands up side by side very, very well, because it's a very important expression.
I'm so grateful the way that all of my friends, other artists, supported this movement.
The show runs at Show Art Studios until April 21st, every day between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. Ontario's housing minister is proposing more protections for tenants by cracking down on renovictions. But there are concerns that the government has ignored other changes that would make a much bigger difference for renters. Lauren Redekop has the story.
With rents way up, a low vacancy rate, and few of those for rent signs, being told your unit has to be renovated and you have to leave can be especially scary. The housing minister proposes tightening the rules to stop illegal renovictions.
When a tenant is required to vacate a unit to allow for renovations, landlords would be required to provide a report from a qualified person stating that the unit must be vacant to allow renovations to take place.
Tenants would then have a 60-day grace period to move back into their unit at the same price. He's also proposing rules around another common reason for eviction, that the landlord or their family are moving in, adding a deadline for that to happen.
There's this ambiguity in what constitutes a reasonable amount of time for a landlord to move in for their own use.
Once again, the Leader of the Opposition.
The Opposition feels there was a big miss with today's announcement.
Of the things we've asked for, like real rent control.
Right now, there's only rent control on housing built before the PCs first came to power in 2018.
Life has gotten very difficult for renters. Renters are stressed. They're worried about whether they can afford the rent at the end of the month. And that's the Conservatives' legacy. Home prices have gone up and rent has gone up. Homelessness has gone up and evictions have gone up.
There's also no rent control between tenants once a unit is vacant,
which allows the landlord to increase the rent on a new tenant by whatever amount they want. And that is the main driver of what's causing the loss of affordable housing and the skyrocketing rents.
Disputes at the landlord and tenant board take months to be heard. The government is also proposing a change there to hire 40 more adjudicators and 5 other staff, costing $6.5 million.
Bringing in a few more adjudicators to the landlord-tenant board is a useful thing, but the backlog is immense.
The housing minister also proposes doubling the maximum fines for offenses to $100,000 for individuals, $500,000 for corporations. We're also expecting other details coming out in new legislation tomorrow. The ministry says it'll be on protecting tenants and also supporting home buyers. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's take a live look outside there. What a day it's been. We've had high temperatures, a tornado watch, but it looks like we've dodged any trouble for now. Colette Kennedy will join us after the break with more. Stay with us. Israeli police and Palestinians clashed at a holy site in Jerusalem for a second time today. It happened just hours after officers stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They say it was to clear a group of Palestinians who had barricaded themselves inside. As CBC's Margaret Evans reports, the situation has sparked wide reaction.
For the second night in a row, clashes have broken out between Israeli police and Palestinian worshippers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Last night, Israeli security forces stormed the mosque in the compound known to Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary. Startling images on social media appear to show Israeli soldiers beating Palestinian worshippers on the ground with batons. Israeli authorities say they were removing agitators who'd barricaded themselves inside. They released footage showing firecrackers being thrown at them as they entered. Clashes spread to other parts of the city, and more than 300 Palestinians were arrested. The Islamic Waqf, which administers the site, condemned the raid.
There is agreement between Jordan, Israel, and the rest of the world that Israel does not make changes in the situation of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
The site is sacred to both Muslims and Jews, who call it the Temple Mount. By morning, Israeli soldiers were accompanying Jewish visitors to the compound. Their presence seen as a provocation by many Palestinians, especially given the new role for hardline nationalist religious Jews in Israel's new government.
It was very, very clear that their goal is to demolish Al-Aqsa Mosque and to build instead the temple.
In the wake of the clashes, militants in Gaza fired more than a dozen rockets at Israel, answered in turn by Israeli airstrikes. The Israeli defense minister visited Israel's Iron Dome defense system. We will know how to hit anyone who tries to attack us, he says, to impose a heavy price on them. Several countries, Canada included, have voiced concern, calling for calm, especially at this time when the Jewish holiday of Passover and the Muslim holy month of Ramadan coincide. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at local weather. Colette, we were really keeping an eye outside. We had that tornado watch throughout the day, but it looks like we've passed the worst, I hope, and we haven't had any serious damage on the ground here.
Yeah, we're really doing well. And a tornado watch, again, just means the conditions are ripe. I mean, we certainly had the heat, right? It was there. And so there was the chance of getting a little bit of a twist that we could have perhaps seen something spawn, but it never got to the point. That's why we never went into a tornado warning, although there were some very strong storms. So at times we had the severe thunderstorm warnings, and we saw that as the line came through. And boy, a lot of lightning strikes just basically covering the radar here. Those blue, even into eastern Ontario, where the precipitation was more wintry in the form of freezing rain. Still, lightning strikes in that area. So that's something we all have sort of been involved in, but not everyone involved in a tornado watch. So that was the first one of 2023, not just for southwestern Ontario, anywhere in Canada, but also, hey, Windsor, the hot spot today in Canada, just over 24 degrees when we peaked with that heat. Yes, it adds fuel to the thunderstorms, but it also was the first time that we saw a reading of 20 degrees or warmer in Canada for 2023. So, and didn't stop there, of course. No, had to keep going. There's some of those strikes, and of course the heavy storms that pushed across Michigan. Some of those lines that came through. First, we saw the stronger storms towards Sarnia, and then we had that secondary line that came through in the Windsor area, but that has moved on, and we really are going to be seeing things continuing to wind down, not just here, but in the province. Normal high this time of year, a normal low, and then check out today. Pretty incredible with some of that heat that we've been seeing. Now, we will be not only drying out, but clearing out. A bit of patchy fog, though, not out of the question. These are what the current temperatures are looking like. We are going to kind of see them settling here for a bit, and then they will be falling through the overnight hours. Hey, this is another first time I've used my Humidex in 2023 because it's of note, really feeling the stickiness of the air when we've got those Humidex values up there at 20 or even above in some cases. So kind of seeing the last pockets of the heavier stuff go through, a few isolated showers on that final line, but much weaker in nature. Then behind that, yes, there's still some of that cloud cover, but we'll really be seeing things clearing out and setting up. It's like we ordered this weather for the holiday weekend because a ridge of high pressure builds in, very little to show. I could stop it here and say there's a little extra cloud mixing with the sun Friday afternoon and evening, but not much to it. The overnight temperatures will eventually drop down, but holding on to some of that heat for now. 13 degrees, a little breezy with a westerly wind tomorrow, not too bad, but it'll make it feel a bit cooler. And then have a look at what's happening in the not just the holiday weekend, but next week, like off my map. When I looked ahead, we may see those 20s coming back our way.
That's a good-looking forecast. Thanks
Yes, it
so
is.
much for that, Colette. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
When we come back, the World Irish Dancing Championships are taking place in Montreal. We'll tell you more after the break. The World Irish Dancing Championships are taking place in Montreal, and 10,000 spectators are expected to turn out to take in the excitement. CBC's Rowan Kennedy has more.
It's Javier Ramirez's first time competing at this level. Months of practice have led up to this point. The young dancer traveled here from Colorado.
Usually every day I dance. I do ballet as well, so almost every day I dance except on Fridays.
Despite looking like a team, these dancers are competing against each other, graded on their steps, rhythm, and appearance. Every movement counts at the World Irish Dancing Championships.
The ice of the body and the fire of the feet.
The organizers say more than 2,000 people will compete this week.
The World Championships is the top level that anybody can aim for.
Their ages range from 8 to over 40, and they come from all over the world. The past 5 competitions were held in Scotland, the US, and Ireland, where these two dancers are from.
So I was
6 when I joined and I was 5.
Some parents like Eileen Kennedy know the steps as well as their children.
So when he's dancing, I'm dancing. yeah, just to get everything right, yeah.
For young girls, the dresses, wigs, and makeup can cost thousands of dollars, but the dance, which has its roots in Celtic tradition, is evolving.
Well, traditional stuff is mostly like out of fashion, so the judges would more like stuff like this than traditional dresses.
This year, for the first time, there will be a freestyle Irish dance competition. It will coincide with the event's closing ceremony Sunday. Rowan Kennedy, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can, of course, find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.